What's up, y'all? Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
A show we call The Sweat, presented by DraftKings. She's Jesse Cofield. I'm EmersonLotiza. Our bellies are filled with moist breads. It's true, though. Banana bread, lemon bread, coffee bread.
For the record, I stopped by a bakery before we did the show, and we sampled all of the breads. But that's just a weird...
I felt like we were at Sam's Club. You were cutting up all the breads into like little cubes.
It was
and
delicious. It was delicious.
All right, so we're fueled up. We're fired up here for the next 55 minutes. 54 now, because we've wasted a minute talking about breads.
All right, close to an hour of DFS and betting advice around the NHL. NASCAR,
Woo.
We're doing what we can to keep Bukes employed, too. That's like a main focus of ours these days. But let's start with the association. A big night ahead that includes the Philly debut of James Harden in Minnesota.
All right.
So, DraftKings contributors Gary and Thorne and Matt Mazelman are here to help us with this 9-game slate.
All right, who's your top price guard, Gary, and how much exposure do you think you're going to have to Harden tonight? Come on.
I don't know. I mean, it's a great matchup. Minnesota is, as we've talked about a lot, just a team that does not play a lot of defense. They are high-paced. They're on the second night of a back-to-back, which really does not bode well for just their ability to limit the point total of another team. But I think you almost have to use Harden as a decoy in some of these lineups. I think he's going to just be really popular, considering the narrative surrounding him tonight. His price point isn't insane, but, he's now finding himself stationed next to someone who has had a 42% usage rate since the beginning of January. I just don't know what his role in this offense is going to look like. I think he'll probably have a pretty big game, but you need to have a pretty massive performance to pay off his price tag. So I also think Devin Booker, someone who we talked about a lot yesterday, whose price point has increased by like $400, but he still seems pretty underpriced for what we saw yesterday. He's also going to be super, super popular. So I think this is maybe a night where you use someone like DeJounte Murray, who just might kind of slip through the cracks a little bit. I mean, Murray is averaging 1.54 DraftKings points per minute going back across his last 13 games. Washington, not an ideal matchup. They've been kind of a pace down team lately. They actually have the slowest pace in the Eastern Conference since the beginning of February, but I just think Murray's kind of been a one-man wrecking crew for the Spurs for the better part of 2 months now. And if he's going to go overlooked because so many people are on Booker and so many people are on Harden, I want to take advantage of that.
Okay, you're going to be taking advantage of anything in the guard department tonight, Maddie?
I think I just want to play Devin Booker. There are enough other places that I think you can get contrarian here, and Booker is still well underpriced. We talked about this yesterday where it seemed like he would have more of the point guard burden with Chris Paul out, but we still thought that he would be technically the starting shooting guard with someone like Elfrid Payton or Aaron Holiday starting. The Suns didn't do that. Last night, Devin Booker actually started at point guard with Cameron Johnson playing alongside him, and Booker wound up with double-digit assists. If this is how the Suns are going to play their offense, Booker deserves to be priced in the same tier as guys like Murray and Luka Doncic, James Harden, LeBron James. He's just way underpriced at 9,200. And it's also a really good matchup. New Orleans traded Josh Hart to get CJ McCollum, which helps their offense a ton, but it's a significant downgrade on defense. And really the only good defender that the Pelicans have to throw at Devin Booker is Herbert Jones, but that's kind of out of position for him. I'm sure he spends some of the game there, but the Pelicans are not a good defensive team, really, is the bottom line without Josh Hart. So it's a really good matchup for Booker. The back-to-back would normally be a little concerning, but because the game was a blowout last night, Booker got a few less minutes. He's a little less worn down, I think, than he would be if the game had been close. The Suns ended up winning by 20. So this seems like good chalk. I think Booker is just such a good value compared to the other guys at the top end of the price range.
All right, which high-cost forward or center are you looking at, Matt? Joel Embiid, $11,600, the priciest dude in this area.
Yeah, I'm going with Embiid. I think he actually will be fairly contrarian tonight. Garion mentioned it, the narrative around James Harden. I don't know if that's enough to make James Harden chalk, but we've talked a lot about this over the last couple of weeks, how Harden's presence will probably be just a downgrade for Embiid in terms of usage and production and all that. And I think that that's true to some extent, but I'm not sure if it'll be as true right away. Harden still is dealing with a hamstring injury, may not play full minutes. I don't know how well he's going to integrate in the offense in the very first game. So for now, I think people might be a little scared of that for Embiid. And for that reason, I think playing him over someone like LeBron or Booker or Luka, paying up for him instead as the contrarian move, I think that's worth considering.
Gary, and do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of there's a lot going on tonight's slate coming out of the All-Star break, and one of the major storylines that is impacting us is just teams are healthier than they normally are. So there's not like a ton of obvious value, and that's also something that we found in last night's slate. Some developed towards the end, and it'll probably happen tonight too. But teams are just healthier than they've been in a long time. So I think it's harder to find the guys in like the 3K, 4K range tonight that you can really trust, which makes it harder to really spend up on like two massive tentpole players. So you kind of have to do one or the other, either at the guard position or at the forward center. So I maybe am going to try to save a little bit of money here and go with someone like Wendell Carter Jr. It's just a perfect matchup. I mean, the Rockets have been atrocious against virtually every position you could possibly imagine, but specifically against interior players. They give up the most DraftKings points per game to power forwards and centers. Carter is arguably in the best stretch of his career right now. In the month of February, he's averaging over 17 points and 10 rebounds per game. He's got a true shooting percentage of .630. I just think he's in a really good spot right now. The Magic are, a team that has 17,000 center options, but they seem to have landed on the fact that Wendell Carter Jr. is the best of that bunch. And he's getting the playing time to reflect that right now. So I think he's a very, very safe, high floor, but also high ceiling play because of his matchup.
All right, Gary, what about a value guard to play in DFS tonight?
Yeah, I'm looking at maybe someone like Corey Kispert, just getting a lot of minutes right now for the Wizards. And that was kind of the annoying thing, even after the Wizards sort of, lost Bradley Beal for the season. Somewhat, really, it seemed like Spencer Dinwiddie was kind of the final domino to fall for them to finally just start streamlining some of their younger players into the lineups because, they're not like a great team in terms of depth, but they do just have a lot of guys, and they tended to want to play a lot of these players. So we were seeing a lot of nights where like Advia was playing 24 minutes, Kispert was playing 23 minutes, Hachimura was playing like 22 minutes, Neto would get in there for 18. Like it was just really annoying to try to find like a value option for this team. But over his last 5 games, Kispert is averaging over 30 minutes a night. He's played more than 30 minutes in every single one of those games. He doesn't contribute a lot in the secondary categories. Like you need him to score a lot of points, but there's not a lot of guys on the Wizards who do score a lot of points right now. So he's being relied upon for that. I think at 4,500, he's someone you can kind of pencil in at 5 or 6x value.
All right, cool. Maddie, where are you going here for a value in the guard department?
I'm looking to the New York Knicks backcourt where Derrick Rose doesn't appear to be ready to play yet. Kemba Walker is now just going to be held out for the rest of the season. The Knicks clearly are not trying to get into the playoffs at this point. At least that's how it seems to me, where they don't want to play their veterans. And RJ Barrett has been dealing with an injury for the last couple of weeks. It sounds like he could play tonight, but given the way the Knicks are handling the rest of their players, it just doesn't make a lot of sense that they would force Barrett back into the lineup. So we have Alec Burks at 4,900, who I think will be popular, but then Quentin Grimes, 4,100, Emmanuel Quickly, 4,300. Those are the two guys I'm looking at, where if Burks becomes the mega chalk, which he might anyway, even if Barrett's playing, you take Barrett out, I think everyone is going to look to Alec Burks. But the Knicks' minutes can kind of go anywhere, and Burks is a veteran too. I think it's more than reasonable that they would just say Grimes and Quickly are younger players. We're going to just give them more minutes, and they could be the lower-owned plays compared to Burks. So I'm looking at those two, I think, especially if Barrett doesn't play tonight.
All right, Matt, how about your best value forward or center on this slate?
Yeah, I'm just double-checking that this guy – okay, hold on. I'm going to have to pick a different player because he's a guard. I'll go with Ivica Zubac, who's a center. Yeah, that was a major fail. Trey Mann is a guard. I could have picked him for the guard segment. But Zubac at center against the Lakers. We saw this situation with the Clippers last game before the break, where Zubac was very popular, but the game ended up being a blowout against the Houston Rockets, and he didn't play much in the fourth quarter because they just didn't need him. But with this game against the Lakers, I think the matchup is just really good for him. 5K, I mean, I think that's generally just a little bit of a low price, but the Lakers don't have Anthony Davis. So one concern I might have is that the game just goes small and neither team plays a center. But while Zubac is out there, unless the Lakers start Dwight Howard, I mean, he's going to have a massive size advantage on whoever's guarding him. And then if Howard is playing, then it's just more reason for Zubac to be on the court to have the bigger body going against Dwight. So either way that this breaks, just the fact that Anthony Davis is injured, it sets up really well for Clippers bigs to do well against the Lakers.
All right, Gary, and how do you feel? Best value forward or center?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we talked a little bit about the Suns already, and sort of the interesting lineup quirk they had last night, where we expected Devin Booker to take on more of a facilitating role without Chris Paul, but the fact that he actually started at point guard was a little surprising. But DraftKings is quick. The algorithm is quick to pick up on this kind of stuff, and we've seen a lot of the tertiary players on this Suns team already have massive price increases from last night. In particular, Aaron Holiday up $900 already. He's in that 5K range, which I figured he'd get to eventually, but not this quickly. The one guy who I don't think the price point adjusted enough, though, is Cam Johnson, who was inserted into that starting lineup. He's still $4,800. And with Booker, he's still going to take his shots, don't get me wrong, but with Booker being more of a facilitator and having to take on more of that responsibility, it seems like Johnson could be one of the major beneficiaries of just more shots. He last night played 30.5 minutes, had 37 DraftKings points. He's someone who is at least an average contributor in rebounds and steals. So he's not like a one category guy, which is nice when you get down to this, level of player. I just think Johnson's in a pretty nice spot, and the Pelicans aren't exactly a great defensive team. And Johnson has a long track record of being successful when he's in the starting lineup. He's averaging over 30 DraftKings points per start this season. So I think he's a pretty safe bet to bring back value tonight.
All right, dude, your favorite team to cover or your favorite money line bet tonight is what, Garion?
I think I'm just going to go with the Raptors. Right now they're -2.5 against Charlotte in Charlotte. The Hornets have not been great recently. They are 1-9-1 ATS their past 11 home games. They've just been among the worst teams in the Eastern Conference the past 6-7 weeks. I just don't really know why this number is as close as it is. I guess there is some concern about Fred VanVleet not playing in this game. Nick Nurse was pretty optimistic. I know he's listed as questionable, but he seemed to think he was going to play yesterday. So I think there's good reason to believe that he will eventually end up in this starting lineup. The Raptors, meanwhile, have covered 75% of their last 32 games. They just are a really good ATS team. So I'll take them to cover again tonight.
Maddie, who's going to cover tonight?
All right, this will be a fun example of just having opposite types of analysis for games, because I like the Hornets on the other side. Just going to go against Garion's pick.
Fight.
I think
Fight.
Well, only one of us can win, so I guess it's kind of like a fight. I think really what helps the Hornets a lot is that Montrezl Harrell's on the team. And yes, they have been really bad for a while now.
Has that helped the last 5 games?
It hasn't, but I think it will start to help. It's really like the ATS numbers I just don't view as especially predictive, and I think it explains why the Raptors are viewed as a lot better than the Hornets, and their record is a lot better. I am worried about Fred VanVleet's health. Like, that's a lot of what this comes down to. So we could, neither of us knows, and this is a little bit of a guess on my part. I do think VanVleet plays, but I'm a little worried just about the minutes, how that's going to take a toll on the team going forward, and just how VanVleet will look on the court. But the Hornets just have so much more talent than the results they've produced this season. And I'm kind of buying into that rather than just the results that they've had so far. I think the All-Star break may have given them time to reset and, scheme differently a little bit. But if you just go across their roster, there are a lot of really good players on this team. And for whatever reason, they haven't been able to bring it all together. Maybe after the All-Star break, they're able to do it. So I think being at home with VanVleet a little bit banged up and with Harrell there, that should help them going forward. But yeah, it does concern me that Garion's on the opposite side of this one.
Well, it doesn't concern us. We like it when you guys disagree.
It's good stuff. It's great television. And one of you will be right and one of you will be wrong.
And we'll make note of that. We'll lead
the show with it.
Monday. It's fine.
You know what? It's probably true. We will as well.
We will forget it by Monday. Great work, guys. Appreciate it as always. We're getting into NHL next with our Canadian hockey panel. The Sweat will be right back. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sweat, and welcome to DraftKings contributor Jeff Ork and RotoWire's Paul Bruno. Fellas, here for NHL Morning Skate. So we need you to preview tonight's 6-game NHL slate from a DFS, and we'll get into some sportsbook perspective, too. So let's start with who your favorite center is tonight. Jeff, who you going with?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a great time to jump on Jack Eichel at 7,000. I mean, obviously had a massive game in his last outing, five shots on goal and a goal, and now gets the Arizona Coyotes. I mean, we're all kind of waiting for the Vegas Golden Knights offense to potentially start clicking, and I think this is a pretty good slate to jump on them. I mean, you've got Columbus obviously playing really well, who I liked last night, and they did come through, but they're on a back-to-back against a good defensive team in Carolina, and everyone's going to be all over the Hurricanes in this spot, and that's fine. But I think loading up on Vegas here, it might not be super sneaky, but I do think you'll get lower ownership than you will on the Hurricanes, and I just think that there's still like a big group of people in DFS probably not sold on paying $7,000 for Jack Eichel because he's only in his fourth game back. So for me, I'm going to Jack Eichel tonight. I think the Golden Knights offense has just as good a shot at being the leaders on the slate as Carolina.
All right, Paul, who are you going to at the center position on this NHL slate?
I'm right with Jeff. Without repeating all the narrative that he just explained, it makes total sense. We're all waiting for that breakout effort, and he seems primed for it in a very nice matchup. I think the case can also be made for Sebastian Aho, who's a bit of a higher floor play, I would say, with a point per game, 28 shots on goal in his last 10 outings. But the guy that's a sneaky good value tonight is Anze Kopitar, a $6,200 price tag. He's got 47 points in 51 games. That tells you he's a model of consistency. 11 points in his last 10. That, too, is a very high floor, and it's a cheaper price. So that might be where I'm focusing tonight.
Best winger on the slate, Paul? Who you going with?
I like Colorado tonight against Winnipeg. That means Mikko Rantanen, $7,500 is a great play for me. I know the price is high, but it's not as high as we've seen for him, and yet he's scoring just as consistently as always, 40 shots on goal, and he's got 15.4 DraftKings points in each of, on average, in his last 10 outings. I like Vlad Tarasenko. He's rounding into form. They're hosting Buffalo, St. Louis is tonight. 11 points and 25 shots on goal for him in his last 10, with a floor that should equal his 12.3 DraftKings points per game over that last 10 games. A nice matchup there. And similarly to the Eichel narrative, Pax Pacioretty makes a lot of sense. You know he's missed a lot of games, but the points per game and goals per game are right up there with the league leaders on the season if you extrapolate that. So look for him to be part and parcel of that Eichel breakout tonight as well.
Jeffrey, who are you looking at for winger?
I mean, look, the Columbus Blue Jackets, they're playing really well. Like I said, it's a cool little story here. They had a massive win as super big underdogs last night. But, I mean, they're going to be starting like a four-string goalie again. Like, the Jean-Francois Berube story is going to come to a crashing end at some point. And it could be tonight against Carolina on a back-to-back. I'm not even sure if he's going to get the start. And if he doesn't get the start, it'll be the fifth stringer. So, Andrei Svechnikov, at under 7K in this matchup is just like, I think you just put him in. You get some exposure to the Carolina offense, and I think Svechnikov is the best way to do it. He's only 6,800, which is massively underpriced considering this matchup. He's got multi-goal upside in this one. I think a lot of people will go to Patrick Laine just because he's been so hot. I prefer Svechnikov in that matchup, but you should also be looking at the St. Louis Blues. Like if you want to pay up for a winger, I think Vladimir Tarasenko against Buffalo, who is really terrible, is fine as well. The Blues scoring tends to be a little bit more spread, but Tarasenko and maybe even Buchnevich, you could pair them together as well. Again, if you're going to pay up on wing, but I still think Svechnikov, the best bang for your buck, especially under 7K.
All right, Jeff, who are you paying up for on the blue line? Cale Makar, the most expensive defenseman at 7,100.
Yeah, Cale Makar is always like a fine option, but I kind of prefer Drew Doughty right now. I mean, Doughty has just been, this whole Kings offense has been like shockingly really good of late. They've won a few games in a row now, but it's really just been, it's been more just Doughty just producing more as a fantasy stud. I mean, the block shot rates are way up, and so is the shots on goal. It's kind of like vintage Drew Doughty right now, averaging well over 4 block shots on goal per game. And the power play for the Kings has improved a lot of late too. So, I'm not too scared of Anaheim right now. I mean, they played a really close game with San Jose in their last outing, and it's not like San Jose has been playing well. So I think the Kings actually have the advantage in this matchup, and I think you'll probably see Doughty show up again. So I actually prefer him slightly over Makar, which sounds a little bit silly to say, but there's a $600 price differential between them two. You could certainly go down the list and look at guys like, again, from St. Louis, who, getting a piece of like Justin Falk for cheap in the matchup against the Sabres is never a bad idea. But if I'm paying up, I still prefer Drew Doughty.
All right, Paul, who are you paying up for on the blue line?
Well, once again, we're singing from the same hymnal, Jeff and I. So I agree that Stouty is the guy that stands out among the high end. When you consider particularly, he's actually outperforming Makar and Pietrangelo over the last 10 games. So he's got a nice matchup tonight. And I still expect the other two guys to have higher ownership. So it's the play to go with tonight. There's no question. And I normally give you more alternatives, but he's a screaming hot option for me here.
Paul, value play, your best one, your favorite one, the one you were absolutely in love with.
Well, I got a handful of them, unlike the one pick on D. So I'll go through them quickly. Braden Shen centering the second line. It's the top scoring unit in St. Louis of late, and he's been on fire with 7 goals in his last 10 games. Only $4,100 for that. Jesper Bratt is holding a hot hand for Jersey, coming in at $4,700, playing right wing on the second line there. And he's got 12 points and 27 shots on goal, good for a 12.6 DraftKings points per night over his last 10 outings. In the same game, go to the other side of the ice. Dylan Strom in between DeBrincat and Kane looks like a very nice play. He's playing his best hockey maybe of his career with 9 points in his last 10 games played. I'd like to see a shot total a little higher than it shows, but dishing the puck to the other shooters is going to get him big points too. And finally, Chandler Stevenson, the guy that's playing wingman to the two big guns we've talked about in Las Vegas, brings down the average cost of stacking that line when you consider he only cost $3,700 tonight. He's got only 4 points in 10 games played, but if the other guys go off, he's going to be right there with them tonight.
Hey, Jeff, value play tonight, dude. You got more than one?
No, I'm just going to go with one guy I really like. I mean, Paul listed off a ton of options. Again, I like how we're doing this yin-yang thing. One guy gives a bunch of picks, the other guy agrees and kind of just keeps it short. I'm going to keep it short with Ivan Barbashev of the St. Louis Blues. He's only $3K. He went through a bit of a pronounced just point scoring drought, but he's still getting, some power play time, some time with really good offensive players. And I think that's the big thing with Barbashev. When he gets put in these roles alongside other good offensive players, he'll produce. He came through with multiple points in his last game. And I just like grabbing pieces of cheap players from these good offenses when they're in these matchups. You've seen it a lot throughout the year, but the Blues against Buffalo, I mean, paying $3K for like a top 9 winger on the Blues, it's not a bad strategy at all. We've seen Barbashev come with upside, 3 shots on goal, 4 shots on goal game, and a point or two. I think he's in a really good spot for $3K if you need that kind of deep punt play.
All right, on the DK Sportsbook, which game total are you going to be targeting, Jeff?
Okay, so I'm going to cheat just a little bit here. I'm not going to go with the game total. I'm going to go with a team total. I'm going to say go over on the Vegas Golden Knights, 3.5. You have to go to the team totals. Over 3.5 goals for the Vegas Golden Knights. It's minus 115. And again, you could take the over, I guess, 6 goals, but do we really want to trust the Coyotes to get us more than 1 goal? I don't. I think going to the team total on the Vegas Golden Knights is a better play tonight. Again, Jack Eichel humming. Their offense is starting to click, and they're playing Arizona. I think Vegas just loads up here. And maybe they do hit the overall total on their own, but I'd rather just bet the Vegas Golden Knights over 3.5 goals today.
Paul, where you going, man?
I like to take the over on the Carolina-Columbus game. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. So go to the alt line at over 7.5 for a plus 185 winning bet. That should be attainable. And I also like for offense to come out over top of defense in the Chicago-Jersey game tonight. Both offenses firing and the defense is not doing as much. So again, go over the 7.5 to get a big payoff at plus 215.
Paul, Puckliner, Moneyline.
I'll give you one of each. Devils have been scoring a lot lately with 25 in their last 5 games. That includes a few games against some of the NHL's top clubs. So I respect that. And the Hawks have averaged only 2 goals per game in their last 7 tilts. I take the visitors at a plus 120 on the money line. And I think the Kings offense is worth a plus 230, giving up 1.5 on the puck line tonight. Both teams have played well of late, but LA's only lost 1 of their last 10 in regulation. So I trust them, and they're higher in the standings. So it makes me feel good about that bet too.
Jeffrey.
Yeah, there's a lot of just big favorites tonight where we're really paying to take the puck line even. I mean, of the group, I'm looking at Colorado, St. Louis, even Carolina. We're all looking at under plus odds just to take them to cover the puck line. I prefer Vegas, though, of this group. Minus 105 to cover the 1.5 puck line. I think they can do it against Arizona. Again, This is a team that we're just waiting to click with Jack Eichel. You're starting to see it. The Coyotes just aren't going to put up any resistance here, in my opinion. So I like Vegas to cover the puck line, and I'm with Paul on the Kings too. I'm just going to take them straight up on the money line, -110. I'm fine with that. The Ducks, they have like one good win in their last 7 games. Again, they struggled against the San Jose Sharks. We're really lucky to pull out a shootout win there. I think the Kings can come in and grab another road victory. They've been very good on the road of late too, so I do not mind those even money odds on the Kings either.
All right, good stuff, guys. Appreciate it. Jeff, need you to stick around because you're actually joining us in the next segment to talk NASCAR?
Yeah, he's a NASCAR expert now.
All right, see you in a couple minutes.
All right, we got our. This is incredible. This has become my favorite segment on this show, and this is only the second time we've ever done it in the past 8 days. DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich and Jeff Ulrich are here. We are going to talk some NASCAR. This is the NASCAR Wise Power 400. Jeff has become a NASCAR expert. Actually,
when did this happen? I was out when this happened.
Yeah, you're always out. You were on your 3-week baby moon. So Jeff actually handed out some pretty good Daytona 500 picks last week. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna give him some credit here. Pierce even gave him credit himself, and Pierce doesn't like to give anybody credit because he's miserable. But Pierce, let's set the stage here. Give us a little bit of a DFS strategy and course breakdown for this weekend's race.
That was the best opener. That was great. Thanks,
yeah, sorry,
Emerson.
Pierce.
I really appreciate that. That's awesome. So the strategy this week, we are changing the racing package to a low downforce, high horsepower package that they haven't used in a couple years. So you might want to go back and look at some Fontana history from 2016 or 2018. Maybe even look at last year's Nashville race. There's going to be practice again, so you can look at the practice data over the weekend to help you make your picks. And then the last thing to keep your eye on is they've got a new practice and qualifying format, and there's a good chance that the cars, some drivers are not going to qualify well because what you race in is what you qualify in. So maybe your car's not fast for one lap, but you set your car up to run well in traffic or to run well on the long run. That means you're going to get some really good cars starting in the back. So think about rostering some of the guys in the back for place differential upside.
All right, with that in mind, Jeff, and with Pierce on Monday telling us this is Kyle Larson's race to lose, who's a DFS play, Jeff, that you like for the top price guys over 9K?
Kyle Larson's race to lose. I mean, I don't know. That sounds a little bit overconfident to me. There's a cluster of guys, Jesse, that I'm really all over in this race car driving race that is going to be happening this week. My favorite, though, I had to lean with Ryan Blaney at $10,000. I mean, I've pulled up some serious stats on this dude. He led the second most laps here in 2020. There was only, there was some kind of like tire malfunction, and he pushed it back to like 19th. This dude was right up there. This is just like in golf when you're coming to the last hole, and the dude's played well all week, and then he hits like 4 balls in the water, and he just skews his stats. Ryan Blaney, very, very strong performance in 2020 at this event. He's pushing the pedals well. He was 4th at Daytona as well. We have recent form. We have course form. $10,000. There's your play. And, we'll get to the best bets at the end, but he might sneak in there too. So.
All right, Pierce, who you going with for top price guys over 9K?
I'm going to stick with Kyle Larson.
Good.
I'll also talk about Martin Truex and Kyle Busch later on. But to talk about that Ryan Blaney thing, yeah, he quartered a tire late in the race, and this is a track that chews up tires, so it's not really an outlier for that to happen. But it was tough because he did run 90% of the laps inside the top 5, led the second most, like Jeff said. But the issue that I would have with Ryan Blaney is that was in a different package. That was a high downforce package that suits Blaney's driving style, where there's not very much off throttle time. He likes those full throttle, flat out speed tracks, and he's done well at those in the intermediate tracks. This is going to be a different beast possibly. So I would want to see what he does in practice. If he hesitates, there's a little slower in practice, then I would be off Blaney.
All right, let's find out the next Austin Cindric, who just won the Daytona 500, or Bubba Wallace, who, again, was a great bet that Jeff hooked us up with. So who could finish near the top and under $8,000 in DFS? So Cindric, 7,600. Pierce, I see it in your article here on DK Nation. You got him in there. Bubba Wallace, $7,000, or someone else for value. I'm seeing a few other value pieces in your piece.
Yeah, I'm going to go down to the bottom and go with Cole Custer at 5,900. This is a misprice for me. Stewart Haas Racing is a top-tier team. They never should have a driver price below $6,000. I know Custer has struggled over the last couple seasons, but that's a different racing package. We're going to go to a low downforce, high horsepower car, similar to what he raced in the Xfinity Series, where he was a championship contender, won multiple races with his current crew chief, Mike Shiplett, who also is good at setting up low downforce cars. But the real kicker is that Cole Custer is running double duty this weekend. He's going to do the Xfinity race. He'll run through all the Xfinity practice. He's going to be able to get a lot of reps, collect a lot of data. And the Xfinity car and the Cup car are not too far apart anymore. In previous seasons, you really couldn't learn much going into the Xfinity Series. But I think there's going to be valuable data to gain. And at 5,900, he's just too cheap.
Jeff, you got some value picks for us, dude?
I mean, the Cole Custer pick is brilliant by Pierce. I mean, he was spiking in my model as well. But I'm gonna go with Eric Almirola.
Yeah.
And this dude is so confident in his name that he spells Eric with an A. I love that about him. He was 6th and 5th in his last 2 races. He's got great Wise Power 400 Form 2, Emerson. 12th, 9th, and 10th here. That's the kind of solid driving I like from my drivers when I'm going under $8K in salary on the NASCAR circuit. Look, the DraftKings Sportsbook. We all need some picks here, to just like the Bubba Wallace pick from last week. Plus 240 for Eric with an A, Amarilla, to finish in the top 10. Value alert, double A for the top 10 this week at 7,400. You got to get him in your lineup.
I love that. What a segue, too, because, I mean, we want to take everyone to the DK Sportsbook
we
now,
do.
Right?
Over on the Sportsbook, we got race specials. Wow, this is great. Bets like all Hendricks cars to finish in at the top 10 plus 350. Brad Keselowski to exact his revenge and finish ahead of all Team Penske cars at plus 500. So, like, what's a weekly special that you like this week, Jeff?
So, I mean, I couldn't really get behind a lot of them, if I'm being dead honest. I mean, Pierce is probably going to come up with some galaxy brain, like these guys are all downforce drivers who, like, are good in outer space or something. But I am going with the big value here at plus 1,300. Austin Cindric and my boy Ryan Blaney to both finish in the top 5 of this event. It's plus 1,300. Ryan Blaney's winning because that's my pick. I'm just it's like a reveal. Sorry, spoiler alert. But I mean, Austin Cindric, this dude just won the Daytona 500. He's going to come in here against all these, scrubs and just be like, yeah, I can finish top 5 again. I think plus 1,300 seems like good value. Blaney was, like we said, was in the top 5 of this race last year until he, his tire ran over a nail or whatever. So I think this is good value. I mean, Blaney seems like a very legitimate top 5 play, and Cindric racing obviously with a ton of confidence. I mean, plus 1,300, Pierce, you can definitely look. You tell me if this is bad. I'm due for at least one bad bet here, so you tell me if it's terrible. I really couldn't find anything else I liked from these specials.
Yeah, Pierce, tell him if it's terrible, and then Galaxy brain us with your pick.
It isn't terrible. If we get a short run at the end of this race, then Cindric can sneak in there. I'm probably not going to go there. And you're right. A lot of these specials, I don't like any of them, but there was one that did stand out to me, plus 550 to get Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Busch all to finish inside the top 5. I think that's pretty likely. I like that bet a lot. I'll talk about Truex and Larson some more here in a bit, but if we focus on Kyle Busch, this is a racetrack where he has succeeded in the past. We know that he's been clamoring for practice to return, and with this new low downforce package, which means the car's not held down to the ground very much, so you kind of have to let off the gas a little bit in order to get the car to turn. Now, the more that you let off the gas, the slower you go, so you don't want to let off that much. So the people that can maximize their on-throttle time or minimize their off-throttle time in this package are going to succeed, and that's what Kyle Busch does. He's the best at driving in further and getting back on the throttle sooner. That wasn't really a skill in the old package in 2019 and 2020 because they were just running flat-footed through the turns. Now you have to drive a little bit more. It's more in the driver's hands, and Kyle Busch is the guy to get that job done.
Well, Pierce, over in the driver prop section, too, group winners. These are some of the guys you've mentioned. You said you were going to talk about later, so maybe you'll talk about them now. Group B, where the 2020 winner, Alex Bowman, plus 280, to best Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex, and William Byron. So who do you like in this group?
It's Martin Truex in this group. I know Bowman won the last race, but again, that's a different package. We're going to have a low downforce package. And the last time they raced this similar style at Fontana, Truex won in 2018. He led over 100 laps. Nobody has been better in low downforce, high horsepower racing over the last 5 seasons than Martin Truex Jr. He's been the best. He consistently gets it done. I think he's going to come in here and have another great race. And I think this one's a misgrouping as well.
All right, Jeff, what stands out to you in this group? Give me someone who's rock solid with the low down, high horsepower racing.
I mean, I almost made Martin Truex Jr. my pick, and him and Ryan Blaney are the same price. I can't really find. I don't think there's really good value in this group because Alex Bowman was another guy I was considering. I like going to Group D and just taking Kurt Busch at plus 240. This dude seems like has a very legitimate shot at a top 10. I mean, I know Pierce was going on about this is like the Busch race or whatever. This is just where they always pop. They do always seem to pop up. And these guys he's going against seem like very just big long shots to do much this week. I think Kurt Busch in Group D is the play at plus 240. I mean, I'll let Pierce respond if this is terrible, but to me, I just don't really like that Group B one for picking because it feels like you're going up against like 3 strong drivers there. I'd rather go to Group D with Kurt Busch.
All right.
This is it.
Who's your bet to win this thing?
The
Jeff, we know.
Wise Power 400.
Jeff, we know that you're going with Ryan Blaney, but just tell us why.
I'm going with Ryan Blaney for all the reasons I laid out. This guy's got he's got recent form. He's got the course history. You know, it's just like when you get a golfer on one of those like golf courses that have really narrow fairways and he hits all the fairways. Ryan Blaney hits all the fairways at this Wise Power 400 wherever they're having it. And I also like Eric Almirola, top 10. I think this guy's got a very, very good shot of paying off. Plus 240 seems like a bit of a misprice. And I'm going deep. I'm going to the Production Alliance 300 for a pick as well on the Xfinity race. Sheldon Creed at plus 2,000. Yeah.
Wow.
Try and match that, Pierce.
All right, Galaxy Brain Pierce, hit us with your pick to win.
No, I'm going Chalk Brain here. And Chalk Brain worked pretty well last season if you were doing NASCAR picks. Take Kyle Larson. You don't really need to overthink this. He is the greatest North American racer of the 21st century. There is no doubt about it. And the guy got banned from NASCAR in 2020. He came back the next season with a brand new team, and he wins 11 races. That's unheard of. That's unprecedented. That's like in the NFL, a rookie quarterback joining a team. They win 14 games and the Super Bowl. It is remarkable. And that's just season 1. What would that rookie do in season 2 and season 3? Well, this is season 2 of the Kyle Larson experience. He won here in 2017, led 100 laps, has 2 other second-place finishes, has multiple wins in the Xfinity Series at this track. This track suits him. It suits his crew chief. I mean, everything lines up for him. You got to take the chalk here.
Kyle Larson is apparently the Ben Roethlisberger of NASCAR.
Oh, that's great.
Not bad.
Is it?
Not bad. Wow. More high praise to you, Jeff, from Pierce. Pierce, you are free to go. We're going to help Steve Buchanan stay employed here.
Yeah.
Because he is really, really struggling. I'm not sure if you follow him on Twitter, but he is in a very dark place right now with baseball currently still locked out.
I saw him tweeting about Pokemon the other day, I think.
That is really
Maybe
bad.
Maybe that will be his new beat.
Okay, so Jeff, stick around. Let's lift him up after this break.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Sweat. Jesse, Emerson. We are joined by DraftKings contributors Steve Buchanan, Jeff Ulrich, and Gary and Thorne. So on Tuesday, we got a lot of bets from Steve to help him keep his job.
Yeah, again, he's a big NFL guy. NFL's over. Baseball is locked out. He's miserable.
Lucky for him, most of them were futures, so we really can't judge his picks quite yet, so he's still employed. He did, however, hand out one winner. Look at this.
I know that there's a lot of turmoil on planet Earth right now, but it looks like my notes were leaked because this line has moved even before I gave out the bet. So somebody hacked into my computer and looked at my hockey notes because we were going to be taking the over 6.5 points in hockey. Points, yep. We're taking over 6.5 with the Maple Leafs and Columbus Blue Jackets tonight. I mean, the Blue Jackets in particular. And this team is just on fire. They can get that puck in the back of the net. They're averaging 4.4 points over their last 5 games played, okay? So the goalie's not doing anything for the opposing teams. Both these teams hitting the over consistently as of late. Maple Leafs, 9 in their last 11. Columbus, 8 of their last 9. I mean, even a non-hockey guy says that's a lot of overs. And now the number's up at 7. It was a 6.5 when I liked it. Somebody leaked the notes. It said, Steve, the hockey guru of DraftKings, has taken the over. We better hammer this soon before the public finds out. Now it's 7. You know what? I'll take the 7 too because it's going to be 9. 9 points scored in this game. 9 goals scored in this game.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going right now. Maple Leafs, Blue Jackets, over.
All right. So the game pushed at 7, but we're going to give Steve credit here because he got his bet in at 6.5. He should have told the people like what to do on Twitter. This was a very Brendan Glasheen-esque kind of strategy here.
I don't think so at all. Actually, I think I laid it out pretty eloquently. You just don't know how to pay attention. I said exactly what happened, and you just didn't listen because you're too busy texting people while you should be paying attention to the show.
There were no lies detected in his analysis of the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's what they've been doing. They've been putting the puck in the net lately. They're averaging like 6 goals over the last 5 games. So, I mean, I give Bukes 100% props for this. There's no asterisks or anything, Emerson. I'm
not saying for the analysis.
There is a little bit of like Julian Edlow, like, oh, I posted this on my Twitter when it was like 2.5. Not my fault.
Right. Odds and lines are subject to change. That's not my fault.
Yeah, odds and lines are subject to change. Emerson is always texting behind his computer.
Okay. What's your NHL pick tonight, Bukes?
Pretty easy. I mean, Blue Jackets plus 1.5. A plus 115 on the puck line. I almost said money line. I don't even know what sport I'm talking about yet. I mean, look, the Blue Jackets coming to this game. They're winners of 4 straight. That means they've won games 4 times in a row. That sounds pretty good to me. Averaging 6 goals per game in that span. They're high-powered offense, high-flying offense. But you look at them on the puck line, 27-22 on the year, 13-12 on the road. That's pretty good. I looked at those numbers. I said, hey, those numbers are in the green. And then you look at that. But here's the thing. Hurricanes, they got some good goalies, I guess. They're allowing an average of just 2.42 goals allowed on average. That's not the right terminology, but you can figure it out from there. That's the second lowest in the league.
I like how you're saying they've got some good goalies. Like they're
true,
just
though.
They
cycling
do,
in goalies, different goalies.
I mean, they got some good goalies. I mean, like I said, 2.4 goals allowed per game. I mean, that's pretty good. That means the goalies are doing their jobs. They're getting paid what they're doing for. So, I'm not taking them to win outright because, they're not letting up a lot of goals, but I'll take it a plus 1.5. That sounds great to me. Plus 115. There's your winner.
Jeff, sounds like some rock solid advice there.
So, look, I've been riding the Blue Jackets too. I mean, they've been great as an underdog their last couple games. Their offense is absolutely ridiculous right now. The problem is, as I mentioned in the NHL segment, their goalies they're on borrowed time, man. They're Cinderella coming home from the ball right now. They're turning into a pumpkin. These are like backups, AHL backups in Jean-Francois Berube, and I can't even remember the other dude's name off the top of my head. I think Carolina exposes them tonight. I think Carolina probably wins big. This is also a back-to-back for Columbus. I'm sorry, Bukes, I got to go against you. And look, hey, this is great because I'm going to take the Golden Knights to cover the puck line as my pick. And, we can see who comes back better. Maybe we'll switch. Maybe when baseball comes around, I'll do baseball, and Bukes can take over hockey.
We got to stop.
Gary, do you want to just jump in and make fun of someone?
I'm loving Steve just referring to teams' goalies as the goalies.
Yeah.
It's like Goldberg. It's like Goldberg.
Like, I haven't watched the hockey game all season, and I believe, Jeff can correct me here, I believe Frederik Andersen is the goalie for the Hurricanes. Would that be correct?
Most nights, yes, that is correct.
I would say if I had to make a bet, I would probably just take the over. See, this is the lesson I thought Steve was going to learn from pushing or winning his last bet, is you take over in Leafs games. Because I don't, like, again, this is the terrible part about living in the city of Toronto. I have not watched a Leafs game all season, and yet somehow I know that both of the Leafs goaltenders have a save percentage below 900 since the beginning of January.
Wow.
No one on this team can stop a puck. And Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner still play for the Leafs, I would assume. So I will take the over in the Leafs game tonight.
Which isn't on the slate because they're not playing tonight. But that's a good strategy.
Okay, when are they playing? I'm gonna take them then.
Yeah, and exactly. That advice holds true for whenever they're playing. So
This segment is off to a great start. Let's
evergreen
suspend it.
advice. Evergreen
Again,
advice.
hey, listen, we're doing this because we're keeping Bukes employed, and we may end up just getting Gary and fired at the same
Okay,
time.
so hopefully you guys were listening to the top of the show with Gary and Matt. So
Gary,
what's your
great.
favorite NBA bet tonight, Steve?
So I wasn't, because I want to come in with like actual fresh analysis that I felt in my heart
Okay.
was true. It just so happened that I'm going with Gary's hometown team with the Raptors -2.5 on the spread tonight. They've been one of the better against the spread teams as favorites, going 18-11, 5-2 as road favorites. I bet Gary didn't even know that. But the other thing is that the Hornets' offense has really slowed down before the end of the All-Star break. And then you got the Raptors coming in like a blistering 47% from the field prior to the break. So we got one offense that's struggling. We got one offense that's coming in hot. And then the numbers say that the Raptors have been one of the better teams ATS. So I put all that together and construe a winning bet. And I pander to the hometown crowd of Gary and Thorne. He's going to love this here. So I feel like he's definitely going to back this one because it's his home team. You can't go against your home team. That's just unethical. So we'll see what he says. So we'll see what kind of fan he is.
Yeah, Garion.
Gary,
Go ahead.
I mean, this was a point of contention in the first block. Is I had this exact bet, and Matt Meiselman was on the other side of it. So now we're 2-1.
He's an idiot.
Which means that clearly the Raptors are going to win this game. I also know for a fact the Raptors do play tonight, so I feel pretty good about this bet. Just from a timing perspective, that's great. I will say, I don't want to reiterate anything that we already hashed out in the first block, but since that block, Fred VanVleet has spoken to the media and said that while he doesn't feel like he's 100%, he expects to play in tonight's game. So I know that was a big part of the analysis in the first block was VanVleet being questionable. Seems like he is going to play tonight. So I would continue to like the Raptors side of this.
I knew that.
Jeff, you're an expert, right? Do you have a basketball pick?
I do. It's probably terrible, but I'm gonna go against. I'm gonna take the Pelicans to cover the 6.5 tonight. Chris Paul out. Phoenix played last night. I mean, they look fine against OKC, I guess. But I mean, Devin Booker's got to carry this team now. We know Devin Booker's a bit of a streaky scorer. Pelicans line up with CJ McCollum. I mean, I feel like this is good. They're going to be better after the break. They're going to be a little bit better. So I think this is a good spot to jump on the Pelicans. Maybe even for a money line. I don't know. Maybe they're not good enough, but I do like them on the spread. Maybe it gets up to 7 as well. It kind of looks like it's headed that way. But even at 6.5, I'm on New Orleans.
Hey, guys, let's go to college basketball on the men's side. So the only ranked team in action here is Iowa on the road in Nebraska. I've driven through Nebraska. What's a bet you like for college basketball, Steven?
Now, see, this is where producer Drew fumbled the bag. Like, the whole point of this was to play to the other analyst's strengths, and I'm the one that's being punished. Instead, he went rogue and now is punishing all three of us. So now we're researching sports, and none of us have any idea what we're talking about, but I'm going to give you a winning bet anyways, because that's just the type of human being that I am. So we're going to take over 161 with Nebraska and Iowa, the two teams that are going tonight. These are the two fastest-paced teams going against each other tonight. Iowa has gone over in 18 of their 27 games this season. Nebraska, 16 of 27. Now, if you really want to pull this back, these teams combined have gone over 161.5 a combined 19 times this season. Math tells me they're hitting at a pretty good rate. And you're going to hit your bet tonight because I know everything about college basketball and none of you do.
Gary, and that's a huge total in that one, dude. 161.5, by far the biggest.
My analysis, I was doing a lot of research. Apparently, college basketball games are only 40 minutes. So,
Yeah.
that's a lot of points for that amount of time. I would just say if you can stomach a lot of seafood pictures and just a lot of tweets to this guy named Brendan Glasheen, if you want college basketball picks, probably just follow Julian Edlow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
agreed.
Seafood's
a
better
tough
than
follow
the
for most of
chicken
the day,
breasts.
but he does give out some winners.
Jeff, do you have a winner you'd like to hand out at all in college basketball? Or should we go to the next question?
I do, and I like Bukes' pick on the over there. You've
Oh,
got just a massive offense. Iowa might just hit the over on their own, but I'm going to Texas State to cover the -2.5. Look, they're playing Troy. The Troy, I don't know what their mascot is, but there's something. They have to avenge the loss here because they lost to them earlier in the year. And look, since that loss, they've won 8 in a row, Texas State. They're a very balanced team. Troy's offense is terrible. If you look at their rankings, it's way, way down there. They're a pretty good defensive team, but I think Texas State, this is going to be a big one for them. They want to close out their league games well here. -2, I'm actually surprised that they're not up there to 3. You might even see this one get up to 2.5 or 3, but Texas State, that's going to be my pick. Take them to cover the -2 right now.
Okay, moving around.
All right, that last college question was so fun. We're spending some extra time there, just like Emerson's 5
Steve,
years.
Stop.
5 years of college.
Yeah, what is that? Producer Drew put 6 in there?
It was just 5. I said 5.
I know. I appreciate you ad-libbing.
So let's head to the ice. 4 of the top-ranked 5 teams in action tonight. What's a bet in college hockey that you like, Jeff?
Yeah, I legitimately didn't see this question, but I'm looking at the odds right now. And I'm telling you,
Cool.
Michigan State at home +100. That is where you want to go. Michigan State
All
Spartans, good hockey program at home. Penn State, I don't know why they're favorites here, to be honest. Maybe they haven't been that good this year, but Michigan State +100, that's where I would go personally.
All right, perfect. Steve, where would you go?
So look, I'm just going to say this very nicely. I am not a fan of hockey at all. I answered the first one, okay? Like, I gritted through it. I sat there. I thought about it. I actually gave you an answer. I am not going to give you anything on college hockey. And if you don't like it, fine. I'll get fired on the grounds of college hockey. That I could live with that, but I'm not giving you an answer for this one. Yep, there it is.
Put
Yep.
All right.
I don't give a
your
crap.
views.
Garion, did you want to give an answer for this one or no?
I was unaware that they played American collegiate hockey.
Oh my God.
Wow.
They'd be playing like in the queue for a Mooski, or they'd be playing for like the Niagara Ice Dogs.
Let's move on to soccer. I gotta
Okay,
get soccer.
all right.
I was
Go
unaware
ahead.
of this sport.
Jeff, sorry to cut you off, Gary, and you have nothing. EPL. Do you have an EPL pick? Jeff?
I do. Let's head to Southampton versus the Norwich City Canaries. I think it's the Canaries. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, soccer people. Anyways, I like this game. Both these teams coming in hot. Norwich actually pulled off the huge upset here, so you can even look at betting Norwich at +550 to pull off the upset again. They pull off the upset earlier in the year, but the bet I really like here is both teams to score. Again, both these teams playing well. They've both been, landing the ball in the net, as Buchanan would say. You can get both teams to score at -125 in this game. I think you will see a close game. I actually was thinking about putting the draw in there as well, a +340. But again, Southampton versus Norwich, I think at the very least you are going to see these offenses connect because both teams on very good runs right now, -125 for that to happen. Both teams to score.
Steve, anything EPL-wise?
I actually do.
Okay.
Both teams to score. In Everton versus Manchester City, we're going with no. Manchester City's allowing an average of 0.7 goals per game. Everton hasn't scored a goal in 2 straight games. They've been beaten up on all these dopey teams that are like under 500. They can't beat any good teams here. They're going to struggle against Manchester City. So both teams to score no at -130.
Gary, anything quickly?
I was just gonna say, like, this segment was invented for Bukes to keep his job, where Jeff's now just gonna take all our jobs. He's now
Hey!
every sport. We don't need anybody else. This is just the Jeff Ulrich show.
When we came up with this idea like a couple weeks ago, I was like, I think he's going to take it pretty seriously, and
Yeah.
he has, and he's been giving out some decent picks.
Absolutely.
I mean, my goal is to get Pierce fired by the end of the NASCAR season. That's
Dude,
just, I mean,
absolutely. Let's go.
It's on my list right there behind my computer.
All right, great stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Great show. Steve is still employed.
Until
Madden
baseball.
coming up at noon. Slate's at 5 with Kaufman and LaMarca. And then,
Wait.
is today Thursday?
Wait, what?
Oh, no, today's Friday.
Today's Friday.
Yeah.
My
we got-
God, we'll see you on Monday.
What?
We have a podcast.